And welcome back to episode of the Clear Jets podcast. We have Ben Blessington and Michael Nania. This podcast coming out a little late. Our apologies. Been a little under the weather this weekend. But Michael, I have to say, there's nothing like a bye week when you're winning. How did you enjoy your Sunday of stress-free football?
It was a lot of fun, and granted, it's a very new experience for us because typically it's like sort of a relief compared to what you're used to. You have to suffer through the Jets every single week, so it's like and you get those cliche jokes every year. Oh, Jets didn't lose to the bye week. That's really hilarious and original. But this year you don't get that. It's kind of a different feeling where you kind of miss the Jets to an extent. But there were some important games on, in the AFC East, the Bills playing the Vikings, Dolphins playing the Browns. So I was a full-on Vikings and Browns fan on this Sunday, and it didn't go too well in the Miami game. Dolphins looked pretty good, won that one, but the Vikings, man, I got to admit, I gave up on that pretty quickly. Probably by halftime I was done, but and even by the end of the third quarter. But wow, that comeback they made was crazy, and it really changes the course of the AFC East going forward and kind of puts the Jets in a better position coming out of that week than going into it, with the Bills now having another loss tacked on and being behind the Jets in the standings by virtue of that head-to-head win. So, it was fun to just be able to sit back and watch some other games, but it also is different this year because the Jets are actually capable of winning games. So you do miss the potential feeling you get of, maybe winning a game. So it's a little bit different, but it was also fun to root against some of the playoff rivals.
Yeah, Michael, and with that win, the Jets have the opportunity to move into first place of the AFC East if they beat the Patriots next week. And so that makes that game feel even bigger. And I'm glad that the Pats game is the first one after the bye, because we talked about it after the Bills game. We're a little worried when you have those big emotional wins. And then even when you walk into a bye week, it's possible to maybe get a little complacent. But when you have that New England team staring you with an opportunity to go into first place in the AFC East, the Jets are going to be motivated to go into Gillette. And it sucks that that Bill Belichick also had a bye week to kind of prepare for Zach and this Jets team. I don't think we'll have more on the Patriots game on Friday when we do our preview podcast. I don't think that will be a walk in the park for the Jets, but I do think that they have a very good chance of winning that game. And the fact that the Jets could be the first team in the AFC East at this point in the season, I don't think anybody saw coming. So a huge win for Minnesota. And look, the Bills playing that first place schedule, they have other games on their schedule that they could maybe lose. I don't know, including one in a few weeks against the Jets that I'm going to be honest. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, Michael. I think that game gets flexed to Sunday Night Football. Do you agree with me? I think the Jets are going to get one because I think Sauce Gardner is too big of a star and has too cool of a nickname. If we could choose, I would say the Vikings game is the best because you get the primetime Kirk Cousins, You get the Justin Jefferson versus Sauce Gardner matchup, Zach Wilson in an indoor stadium. I like that. But I think it's going to be the Bills game, unfortunately. Do you think any of these get flexed?
Yeah, it depends on the games that week. Do you remember what the Bills week one is? I'm trying to pull it up right now, but if you remember,
pretty sure
throw it out there.
Is it Broncos? Hold on. It might be Broncos Chiefs. There's one week where it's Cowboys, so I know it's not
Packers Eagles. I got it.
It's Packers Eagles that week?
Nope, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's week 12. Yeah. That's when the Jets play the Bears, though, which is kind of I don't think the Bears are good enough in the standings, but Justin Fields, with him sort of elevating, may be interesting, although I doubt it. But week 14 here it is, Chiefs and Broncos. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the one. I think we talked about this maybe in the last podcast, but Broncos on primetime, that's coming off. I mean, no one can tolerate the Broncos. It's been
but it is Mahomes.
It is Mahomes, but there is plenty of Mahomes throughout the season already. I don't know. I don't think the Broncos would be tolerated by people to get another primetime game. So I think there's a good shot at that one, but the Vikings would definitely be good.
Just to clarify, that what you're talking, that's the Jets Bills week, right?
Yeah, that's the Bills week. And the Vikings week is Colts and Cowboys.
Yeah, they're not taking the Cowboys off prime.
Yeah,
time.
And the Jeff Saturday storyline that's staying on.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. I think Bills will be the one.
Well, look, I think the 1 p.m. games, Saul even said he likes it. He likes the routine, and it definitely makes our podcast schedule a little easier. But man, I want a Sunday Night Football game. Was it the 2011 Jets Pats game that you went to, or is there?
I think that was it. I mean, technically the 2012 Thanksgiving game
Oh,
against the
that
Pats
yeah.
was NBC, but obviously that was not on Sunday.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been a while.
Oh,
That's like the first half of my life at this point.
and we had the the infamous, super memorable Jets Dolphins 2016 game on Saturday Night Football. That was NBC. So
Right.
I don't think it was Al Michaels though.
That was an excellent game.
It's just Sunday Night Football is just the sign that you've arrived. It just feels like you're a good team. All right. Regardless, we probably should hop into what today's podcast actually is, which is a mailbag. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions a few days ago. A lot of questions to go over here, Michael. So and every time we do one of these, it's always like, all right, let's move through these rapid fire. And then we end up taking like 10 minutes in each question, and the podcast is 3 hours long. I know people like the long pods. I don't know if we have I don't know if I have 3 hours in me today, but we'll see. So we got to keep it. We'll give each question its
It'll be
time,
concise, just reasonable amounts of time.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep things on track. But we have 2 questions that are going to come from the hosts here. Michael, you brought your own question. I brought my own question. Should we save these for the end, or should we kick it off with it? I mean, how do you feel? I know Michael's question. Michael doesn't know mine. How about this? Let's start with Michael's and we'll end with mine.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was gonna say we could start with that. All right. So I'm starting.
Yeah, you can ask.
Okay. So this is something I was thinking about before we started recording, and I think about random questions with the Jets a lot. It's kind of frequent throughout the day, just having these little internal discussions about the Jets, because why not? You're 6-3, competing for the AFC East. What better do I have to think about throughout the day when I'm just going about my business? So this is a question that came up for me. I'm looking ahead to the second half, and I'm just trying to think, what are for you the top name, or how about your top 2 for each of these? Top 2 reasons the Jets might improve as a team compared to the first half. Top 2 reasons they might decline as a team, because bye week is coming right in the middle of the season here. The Jets are at a sort of a crossroads with some injuries. They've lost some key players in the first half. They got some guys coming back, and you also have young players and a young quarterback who are trying to improve and make that second year progress. So it feels like there's a lot of potential for this team to really change its outlook going forward within the season. So for you, your top 2 reasons they might improve, and top 2 reasons they might potentially regress in the second half.
I mean, I think obviously one of the reasons that they could regress is injuries. I mean, and look, injuries happen to everybody, every team, like literally every fan base. It's given me some perspective, and I think I don't know the numbers on if there's been more injuries this year compared to other years, but it seems like every fan base, if you just go to look through Twitter and all the replies to their team or whatever, it's always like, well, if we were healthy, we would have won this game. Or could you imagine if we stayed healthy? Like the Bills fans are on that. The Dolphins fans are on that. Obviously the Jets have the right to be on that train as well, but every single team deals with injuries. But the Jets, I think they have a few guys I think they can't afford to lose. And everybody else, while as good as they might be, I think they could maybe survive. I think the number one guy that they can't afford to lose is Quinnen. I almost don't want to even go through this list because I feel like it's putting it
just
out there, but
complete jinx.
Yeah. Oh God. Don't put that evil on me.
I feel like AVT, we definitely say can't afford to lose. And then 2 weeks later, we win a game against the Bills with Cedric.
That's true. Okay,
you know what? So injuries are weird.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say Quinnen and Sauce. I would say if those 2 stay healthy, I think the defense can survive. Like a guy like CJ Mosley is huge for this defense, but I think they could maybe get they would take a hit, but they could still win games. I think if they lost Sauce and Quinnen, they'd be done. If they lost one of them, could really hurt. But that's one reason they could regress. All right, enough negativity. I don't want to open the pot with that, but that is one reason they could regress. It happens to everybody. The Jets will certainly lose guys. They'll, there's a question coming up here about Rankins. They've lost him for the next few weeks, but I think the interior defensive line depth isn't as good as maybe you might think. And Quinnen is unbelievable. So losing him or losing a guy like Sauce, just the type of rookie year he's had, could definitely cause the Jets to slip a little bit in the second half. I think one of the reasons they might improve, and this is also another reason they might regress. So double whammy is Zach. I mean, the obvious one. Like his performance really does dictate how the rest of the season will go. If he continues to build off that Bills performance and they're getting that level of quarterbacking from him, there's no reason the Jets can't make a playoff run, a serious playoff run.
Yeah, for sure.
And my favorite word on the podcast is about to come up again. I don't want to be hyperbolic.
There we go. There it is.
There it is, baby. But if he keeps playing to the level that and you can't say that, but we saw it against Miami. I think we saw it in that fourth quarter against Pittsburgh. I think you saw it in the first half against New England. And I think you saw it the entirety of that Buffalo game. Just a guy who understands the offense, manages the game, takes care of the football, but doesn't play with fear, doesn't play timidly. He has to be able to play fearless and trust what he sees, trust his arm, trust his eyes. And I think you saw that against the Bills, where it was like the combination of being protective of the football, but being aggressive and downfield and attacking that secondary. But also if Zach can't, if they get hit with injuries and Zach really can't keep that consistency, or he continues to make, crushing decisions each game, that could definitely cost him some games. And look, this AFC, there's so much parity in the NFL right now, but especially in the AFC, and as good of a season the Jets are having, if they lose a few games here, they could put themselves behind. I mean, look, for God's sakes, all four of the AFC East teams are in the playoffs. And that means you have the Bengals and Chargers on the outside looking in. So they're just full of good teams that if the quarterback play isn't there or they lose some guys to injuries, which they obviously will, and they lose a few games, it could cost them. So Zach really just needs to be able to, he doesn't have to carry them. He just has to steer the ship. He just has to be like you texted this to me, a supercharged Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's what you're hoping he can be. Yeah. But if he can just be Jimmy Garoppolo, they'll continue to win games. And then you want another optimistic reason they might improve.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think winning I think the NFL entirely is about momentum. A lot of sports are. But when you win in the NFL, and especially the way that the Jets are winning and the style of defense that they play, I think it's contagious. I think that winning mentality keeps reinforcing itself. You've seen it time and time again this season, where they talk about, like the fourth quarter Jets, or, I keep tweeting that we're a fourth quarter team, like every time the game goes into the fourth, and time again, they keep proving to themselves what they've said all offseason. And I think that now that they got to sit in that Bills game for a whole week, and they look back at what they've accomplished in this first half of the season, I think the confidence that they get from that radiates, and it will carry itself out throughout the second half of the season. No matter what happens, I think the fact that they can look at real actionable things that they have accomplished and proves the type of talent that they have on this team does far more than anything else we've listed here. I think that is a real actionable thing that will help them. Because it's just so hard to win when you haven't been winning. But when you have won, and with this team, and you get that ball going, even if they slip up and they drop a game to the Bears, or another dumb game, I think that that confidence will be there throughout the rest of the season. So I don't know. There's
no, I totally agree with that. I'm glad you brought that point up, because I think that's a point the Jets have kind of reached at this point of the season that they've been trying to get to for a long time, and that's. You look at a lot of the consistent winning teams around the league, and a lot of times we're talking about the teams that win year after year, and it feels like a lot of these teams, the common theme is that they just find ways to win. Sometimes they'll have seasons where they're banged up, they lose a lot of players, or the ball just doesn't bounce their way and they lose some close games, whatever, but it seems like they always find a way to outperform what they should be doing. And it's almost like exactly what you said, to where once you start winning, once you finally break out of that funk and become a winning team, it becomes easier to maintain, because you just kind of see it happening, you feel it happening, and you have that confidence and that just belief in each other, to where it doesn't matter if you're down 10 in the fourth quarter. It doesn't matter if you drop a game that you're not supposed to. You can rebound off of losses and prevent things from snowballing. You could rebound from a bad start to a game and come back in the fourth quarter. It just feels like the Jets have been waiting for so long to get out of that point, where every single year was lose a season opener, then lose again and again, season's over already. Yeah. And, and then in game, it would be, you penalty in the opening kickoff, or you go down with a bad sequence before halftime, or the game's close, then you lose it going to the third quarter. You can't make the comebacks. Like, it just felt like anytime something bad would happen, whether it's within one game or on a season level, it would just snowball from there. But now it feels like the Jets kind of started with that Browns game, and then with Zach's return against the Steelers, those 2 wins right there, and it's kind of been taken from that point. It feels like they've finally gotten themselves out of that hole to now they're a legitimate football team who could rebound from bad things and just continue chugging forward. So I think the Jets have finally gotten to that point. So we'll see if hopefully they can maintain that for the rest of this year and for seasons to come going forward. But it does feel like the Jets are that kind of football team now, which is great to see.
Yeah, you think about like the Patriots too, like why they've won year in and year out, and like okay, they had Brady for a while, and they still have Belichick, but I think there's also when you're a part of a winning organization, there's an expectation to win, and I think that really does carry itself throughout the entire week. Or like even look at a team like the Bengals. When you saw the Bengals on your schedule 3 years ago, you chalked it up as a or like fans would be like, okay, we can win that game, or that's a win. And they weren't looked at as a winning organization. And now, I mean, look, you have an influx of talent and you go to a Super Bowl, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg. But now you look at the Bengals in your schedule and there's an expectation there from the Bengals side of things that we're going to win this game. And you've heard Saleh talk about this, like where he said, there's going to a lot of his post-game speech after the Bills game where he said, there's a lot of people who are going to call this or say that we shocked somebody, but we didn't shock nobody. The expectation in this locker room, and Saul has been very clear about this, that is that they're going to win on Sundays. And you're seeing that. And now that the fact that they have the resume to back it up, I think that will definitely help them, especially on defense, because the style of all gas, no break defense that they play is highly predicated on communication and confidence. And the Jets are really communicating quite well. You can see that just watching them. But the confidence is there. They have you could just see it by how they're playing. When they play confidently, and not even on the defensive side of the ball, go to quarterback. I think quarterback is a position that's really predicated on confidence. When you're feeling yourself, you're going to trust your eyes. You're going to trust your arm. You're going to trust yourself to fit that ball into the tight window. But when you've thrown 2 interceptions or 3 interceptions and your team is losing and the crowd is booing, it's like you're questioning every decision you're making and it affects yourself. So I think the fact that the Jets have one is a reason to that they will continue to win and continue to improve throughout the season. All right, let's move on because we did exactly what we said we were going to do in 15 minutes. That's my fault. All right. All right. This is the first question.
Wait, you were going to ask me
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were going to end the pod with the question I was going to ask you.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So
that
like
might be a little better.
Do a 2 bookends there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good way to do it.
All
right.
we'll
For Matt Earth _2 Adam, all things considered, if you were to tell me the Jets would be 6-3 at the bye and fighting for the playoffs, I'd sign up for it. But what needs to change for the Jets to properly make a playoff push? P.S. Brees for comeback player of the year in 23. Lock it in. I agree with you on Brees, but we'll see. Kind of a similar question, but I guess what do they need to change? Michael, I talked for a lot on that last one. What do you think the Jets need to necessarily change if they want to make a proper playoff push?
Yeah, well, I guess to start out, I wouldn't say change. I would just say maintain for Zach Wilson, exactly what he did against the Bills, which, in that specific game, it was a change. But I think that is the formula right there. I really think both within himself and both from him individually and the play calling from LaFleur's perspective. I think the Jets discovered their identity in that game, and we'll see if it can be maintained. You can't just have the same exact game plan every single week, but I just think from a philosophy perspective and mentality perspective, the way they played offensively against the Bills is exactly how this team should be trying to win games going forward. I mean, the way they played complements everything the Jets need to do right now. Controlling the clock, running the ball, keeping the ball safe. When you have a great defense like the Jets do right now, those are all the things you want to do. You don't necessarily need to run long developing passing concepts to get big plays. You don't need to, from Zach's perspective, try to extend plays, make big plays outside the pocket. When you're playing defense as well as the Jets are, and when you're running the ball as well as the Jets occasionally have been doing this season, they've had some down games, but there have also been some games where they've run it really well. But when you do have those 2 things, you don't need to, get too fancy when it's not necessary. Now, obviously, down the line in the future, you'd like to be able to do that consistently and just be able to throw the ball at will throughout the game, like the Chiefs can, like the Bills can, and all these teams. Obviously, that's the dream. But right now, looking at this team, what they do well, and looking at Zach Wilson, where he is in his development, the best way to play football right now is to get the ball out quickly, keep it safe, make confident decisions, play within the rhythm of the offense, and they did all those things against the Bills. So I think if they could stick with that and maintain it throughout these next 8 games, then I think Zach and the passing attack will put the rest of the team in the best position to do what those parts of the team do best and allow them to carry the Jets to wins.
Yeah, I obviously agree with everything you said, but honestly, more importantly, maybe not more importantly, but if you want to win in December, and especially if you want to win in January, you have to be able to run the football.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, I think the Jets obviously they did a great job against Buffalo, especially that last drive between Michael Carter and James Robinson. And, also the guys up front deserve a huge shout out. I thought that Agbuehi has been honestly pretty good considering what I was expecting from him. And Nate Herbig has been awesome. But yeah, if they want to win, they're going to have to continue to run the football. And they've lost AVT, they've lost Brees. They do get Fant and Mitchell back, which I'm sure we'll talk about in one of these questions. But as much as I don't know if it's more change or maintain, but they have to be, they're a run first team. You can't go into Buffalo in December and throw the ball 35, 40 times and win. They're going to have, that's the type of game where Zach is not going to throw it that much, and they're going to have to be able to pound that rock away. And we saw it in that Bills game. We definitely saw them do it with AVT and Brees, but the Bills game was the first time we've seen it post AVT and Brees injury. And that gave me a lot of confidence entering the bye, but they have to keep that up. For Matt, AK, whatever one, how do they replace Sheldon Rankins for the next 4 to 6 weeks? Would prefer them to move JFM inside and give Jermaine Johnson / Bryce Huff some consistent play on the outside, but I could see them just giving Shepard some more playing time and moving Smart off the practice squad to back him up. I think you're right. Like I think it'll be a blend. I think they will probably give JFM some more inside reps. And especially considering that how a great Bryce Huff has been and how Jermaine Johnson's really coming into his own. But I would expect like the starting lineup will probably be, I don't know if it'll be Shepard or if it'll be Solomon Thomas, but I do expect them to bring up Tanzel, Smart, or Jonathan Marshall up and they'll play. I think that Saleh likes having 3 big defensive linemen out there and then having that fourth guy, whether it's Carl Lawson or it was Jacob Martin at times. You might see more Bryce Huff out there. But other than that, I think he likes to have the other 3 defensive linemen be bigger bodies. I think it helps him hold up in the run game. And so I think they really like the versatility that JFM gives them. But yeah, I mean, they're much deeper at edge. I mean, you have guys like Michael Clemens just sitting on the bench for large parts of the game. I mean, he comes in, but if you want to get your best 4 out there, it probably means moving JFM inside. So I think you're going to see more reps of that. But in terms of their starting first down base defense, I think you're still going to see JFM at edge and a lot more of Nathan Shepard, Solomon Thomas, and then like a guy like Smart or Marshall. What do you think, Michael?
I agree with you. I think, ideally I would love to see more JFM inside, but we've continuously asked for that, and it doesn't seem like they're on board with doing that on a full-time basis. And granted, we've seen a lot of him inside, in passing situations, that's where he's at, and it's been working pretty well. So and the same thing goes for Huff. I mean, I would like to see more of him, but it really seems like they're just completely against the idea of him playing in rushing situations, on rundowns. So it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Yeah, I think it's going to be Nathan Shepard's going to climb up and take that spot. Solomon Thomas is going to play more, and then you're probably going to see either Tanzel Smart or Jonathan Marshall come off the practice squad. We might see a little bit more of JFM inside to take some of those vacant snaps. Maybe Shepard doesn't come all the way up to where Rankins was, because Rankins was playing, 55, 60% of the snaps. Maybe Shepard doesn't go all the way to that, and some of those go to JFM. But for the most part, I think it's just going to be climbing up the depth chart on the inside with Shepard and Thomas, and then someone will come up to take that 4th spot. Yeah.
Do you think the starting lineup will be Solomon Thomas or Nathan Shepard filling in there? I'll say Thomas. That's why.
Yeah, I think, because Thomas is the direct backup to Rankins, because he's been playing that left side spot where Rankins is, and then Shepard's been on that right side behind Quinnen. Yeah, I don't know, because Shepard's been playing better. Like, I feel like Shepard the past few weeks he's been pretty quietly getting a few more pressures than usual, whereas Thomas, I feel like, hasn't done a whole lot. But Thomas is the direct backup, I guess, and he mostly took that spot last game. So yeah, I would lean towards Thomas, but we'll see what happens.
It is a good point on Shepard, and I'm glad you brought him up, because I don't know if he's gotten necessarily the amount of love that he deserves in this podcast, because we've been very critical of Nathan Shepard here in the history of this pod, but yes. And rightfully so. Yeah, but I agree. Every time he's out there, he does look to be pushing. Finally, it looks like he's using those muscles for something because the offensive linemen are getting pushed back. He's creating pressure. I've seen him get in the face of the quarterback a few times. I don't know if he necessarily has the numbers to back it up in terms of sacks and tackles, but he does seem to be making an impact when he's out there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's been better recently. Like there were a couple of plays in this Bills game where he just like clubbed someone so hard, and got right through him. Like again, like
did I send you that one play where I'm trying to remember the exact play it was, but yeah, he looks like he's throwing haymakers out there. I mean, just like, but getting pushed with it, but like fully clubbing.
For sure. There were a few plays where he could have easily had a dominant play, but just the ball was out quick. So shout out to Nathan Shepard. He has been better, and it is coming at a good time with Rankins going out. Hopefully he can keep that going with more snaps.
Yeah, it was 7:52 in the second. If you watch that Nathan Shepard rep, if you're as insane as us and you want to go see, he's swinging for the fences on that.
Yeah, watch that Nathan Shepard rep. You're probably working out right now. You're at school, you're out on the train or something. Just pause this, pull up the replay of the game, however you have it. Watch Nathan Shepard go to work.
Exactly, Michael. All right, from @RodC_Costa. And by the way, thank you for all these questions. But I don't know if I said it at the start, but we appreciate the fact that you guys taking the time out of your day to write us questions. This is a good one from I already said it, but what New York Jets player would you choose to go on a night out with and why? Remember, you have to pay the bill at the end of the night. All right, thank you, Rodrigo, for the question. It's an interesting one. Michael and I did talk about it a little bit beforehand. I think I gave the best answer, but Michael, I'll let you give it because I think that one works. I have a few in the back of my head, but who did you first think of, and then who do you think you're going to go with?
Well, I think I'm going to steal the one that you said because like I was starting to get into it and think, and then you brought him up, and I was like, yeah, that's probably a guy I'd go with. So I'll just steal him because I think you came up with a good answer anyway. But I'm going to go CJ Uzama.
Yeah,
and my reasoning, I mean, if you've seen any of the social media posts the Jets have done about him, like there was that one where they showed his locker or he did a locker tour recently. That's hilarious. I don't know. He has a tremendous personality. I think he's going to be great in media after he retires, but I don't know. I feel like he has like some nerdy interests. Like he likes Pokemon and stuff. So like, which I like. So, or used to. So like, I just feel like
big Pokemon guy.
Yeah. Growing up, I would say so. Not as much currently, but that definitely was huge up through probably 10 years old. But yeah, just I feel like there's a lot of we would have.
Sounds like you guys have a lot in common. Yeah,
I just wouldn't bring up that I criticize his contract. Well,
yeah, exactly. Wait a second.
I'll discuss that.
Yeah,
and also I'm paying for dinner anyway, so actually maybe I should bring it up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you just keep passive aggressively bringing up how much money he's making and how he's overpaid, and then while you're paying for it.
All right, I'll pay $20 for this burger. Just, I mean, you're getting paid $8 million for 10 catches, but I'll take it because I'm a good guy.
$8 million blocking tight end. I'll go. I think Dan Feeney's pretty obvious choice as well. I mean, you take one look at that mullet facial hair combo, and you just know it's a bro right there. So I think Feeney's my guy. Pretty sure. I think I'd have a good night with Feeney. Although footing the bill might be kind of a bad decision with Feeney, but. Seems like that would be pretty fun night out. Pretty fun night on the town. Great question, Rodrigo. I really have thought about this one a little bit now that we're really getting into it. But I think Feeney and Uzama are two pretty good choices.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the roster. I'm just gonna rattle off a couple more I think might be interesting. Carl Lawson, I think would be pretty fun.
Oh, Carl Lawson seems pretty cool. Okay. Also, if you get in a bar fight, I mean,
yeah. Although that kind of applies to most of these people.
It's probably right, but
but Carl Lawson's probably up there. Let's see, Quinnen Williams would be fun. Sauce maybe. There's some good candidates on here.
Just named 3 of the best defensive players, but okay. I was trying to think of guys unheralded.
About the talent. I'm thinking about the personality.
No Zach. No love for Zach. Sounds like a pretty good wingman.
Yeah, he would be solid. I don't know. I don't think we know. I don't personally know enough because I feel like he's really guarded. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what they show.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel as a quarterback, he's more guarded than some of these other guys are. So I don't really know his personality as much as some of these other players show. So that's just my thought process with him.
Okay. I respect it. Elijah
Moore.
Moore.
What about Clemens?
Oh, Clemens. Oh, that's the answer. Fuck. That's what I should have gone with.
If you heard his answers on this interview he did with the Jets before the season. They asked him like some of his greatest inspirations or people he looks up to or something. He was like rattling off these like philosophers from centuries ago. Like that when I heard that, I was like, okay, this guy's interesting.
Yeah, okay. Clemens is definitely the best pick. Yeah, I don't know how the fuck I forgot about Clemens. Yeah, either him or Elijah. No love for Elijah Moore. Don't hit the town out with Elijah.
I don't know.
There's a joke here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but there's got to be
some there somewhere.
Somewhere. I'm not smart.
Will Parks. How about that?
Billy Will seems pretty fun, pretty lively. All good answers. I mean, honestly, this team does seem pretty cool. I mean, look, we don't know any of these guys. You don't know what any of their personalities are really like, but on the surface, they all seem like pretty cool, close knit group of guys. One of my friends actually went to practice Thursday before the Bills game. Like he's interning somewhere and got to go to practice, kind of like you, Michael. You know, and unfortunately, when you went, Michael, to practice, you know, obviously you went with Jets X Factor, but it was the COVID year, so you weren't allowed to go in the locker room. Right. And he went into the locker room and he was telling me like, yeah, I mean, they all seem like super close and just he was like, it was a pretty fun, lively locker room, even though he's just there like asking questions or whatever. But he was giving me some inside scoops and stuff. I mean, not really anything that interesting, just that they seem like they are pretty close and they're all pretty nice. So there's that, I guess, if that wasn't obvious enough. All right, what was the next one? From at iPod Ahmad. By the way, this guy's podcast OG right here. I think he's submitted a question for a lot of these mailbags. So shout out to the OG listeners. What do you think Elijah Moore's role looks like in the next 8 games? This is fascinating. I think he's going to have a fairly sizable role in the second half of the season.
No, I think it's trending in the right direction, and it's kind of been happening quietly. But when you look at the last few weeks sequentially and you compare the way he's been used to the rest of his career, I think it makes sense that it's kind of taken a little bit for him to get to this point where he starts to get reworked back into the offense. But, you know, most of his career, he's been playing on the outside. Every single game prior to the Patriots game, he played at least 2/3 of his snaps on the outside. So he misses the Broncos game after the trade request. They bring him back for the Pats. He doesn't play a lot. But in this game, they start to play him in the slot mostly. He played half of his snaps in the slot against the Patriots. So obviously that was a career high at that point. Then the following game against the Bills, he plays more snaps in this game. Still doesn't get targeted in either of these games, but they expanded the role again. He played more snaps, and then it was up to somewhere around 70% in the slot. So it's a big adjustment for him. And obviously he played slot in college, but it's not as simple as slot outside in terms of, you know, what your role is. It's a much different offensive scheme, so it's different responsibilities and everything. So I think they've, you know, the trade request happened and they let him air it out. They sat him for that game, and I think they came together and realized he's got to be in the slot. But that's taken a few weeks to sort of transpire and get up to that point where he's fully comfortable to take that on in a full-time role. So they've slowly increased the playing time the last few weeks, and then now I think you have the bye week, just another week for him to master the playbook a little bit more, get used to this role. And I think starting out of the bye, we're really going to see him start to settle in as a starting slot receiver. You got Corey Davis coming back as well. So I think we're really going to start to see them establish that starting trio of Garrett Wilson now on the outside. He's assumed that the past couple games, taking Elijah Moore's spot, playing that same role and having a lot of success with it, as you and I suggested he would be capable of. Jets are finally catching on to that. So yeah, I think Garrett Wilson is going to be in that role. Corey Davis will be back in his position. And I think Elijah Moore coming out of the bye is going to start to really settle into that role as the slot receiver.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, when you look at it sequentially from being benched to playing limited snaps to then playing more snaps but not getting the ball, then you got the bye, and now I think you're going to see him a little bit more involved in the offense. I don't think that he's going to, especially the first few games, I think it'll probably take an injury for him to really become the focal point of the offense, probably. But I think you're going to see the Jets run a little bit more 11 personnel. I think that you're going to see them get more creative with his usage. You know, you see how the 49ers used Deebo Samuel, putting him in the backfield. I think you could see something like that for Elijah Moore. I think on the surface, Berrios is probably better in that type of role. And obviously Berrios deserves a lot of those types of snaps. But I think you will see Elijah Moore get some of them because he is legitimately a great athlete with good change of direction, great straight line speed. I mean, you see how smooth he is especially in that big play he had against Pittsburgh. That cut that he makes, and like this, I think it's the second one, because the first play he has, I know he lost some yards on, but the second one over the middle that Zach hits him on, just how fluid that cut is. And then even like had the end around against the Patriots for a touchdown last year. Like, we haven't really seen him in open field that much with the ball in his hands, but he is incredibly shifty. Garrett, more twitchy for sure. But I still think Elijah Moore has a role as a slot receiver and can do some of the gadget stuff that maybe you'd give to Berrios. I just think that they're going to have to really write up a role for him, create a role for him. When you lose as big of a playmaker as Breece Hall, you have to find that production somewhere. Obviously, you're still going to be a run first offense. You're leaning a lot into your 12 personnel, which is great. You have guys like Garrett and Corey, but I think Elijah Moore is too talented to just kind of be a cog in the machine. I think you have to give him a few plays a game where you do force feed the ball to him. And so I think you'll see some creativity with him in the backfield, or him getting some jet motions and really taking advantage of the full array of what a slot receiver in this offense is. And I'm glad you brought up like the fact that we haven't really seen him in the slot that much. Like, despite the fact that he came in as a slot receiver, and at Ole Miss he was a slot receiver, we knew that he had the flexibility to play outside. But so far in New York, that's all he's really done. He's had limited time in the slot. His rookie year, it's like you already had Jamison Crowder and you had Braxton Berrios, and Cole was getting slot reps. This year, it's still crowded, but I think it makes sense for him to really get a full look there. What do you think about that? Do you think they'll, you don't want to cut too much into Berrios, and I think Berrios definitely deserves a role, but do you think they'll get a little bit more creative with using Elijah on some of those gadget stuff?
Yeah, I think they will for sure, but at the same time, I think a lot of it will be just kind of utilizing his short area quickness as a route runner, because I think he can add a lot of value in that area. Just quick slants, just stop routes, finding holes in the zone. Even just if he's running into the flat as a safety blanket, he's a guy who, because I think slot really serves him well, because from a catching perspective, I think what he does best is consistency on balls he's supposed to catch, more so than being able to make those difficult catches, because like when he's outside and you're throwing him contested balls down the field, that's not really where he thrives. He's not going to make as many of those plays as other receivers will, but he also pretty much never drops easy passes. Like I can't remember a pass in his career that he really dropped. Obviously there was the Panthers one in the first game, but that applies as what I just said, is, going down the field, tough catch, but just easy catch underneath where the ball's right to him. He pretty much never drops that. So I think that serves a slot role really well. And, another thing is, when Garrett Wilson was playing in the slot, what is one thing that he struggled with? It was finding the sticks and being able to, have the right depth on his routes to be able to move the chains. And I think that's another thing Elijah Moore has not really shown to be an issue in his career. So I think just in addition to feeding him the ball, I think he's going to be a useful and productive player in terms of slot routes and what you need a slot receiver to be able to do, which is, make those easy catches underneath when you have to make them, but also make the tough catches over the middle, which is another thing I think he could do well, because again, vertical stuff, contested, not so much, but like if there's a contested catch situation where he's horizontal, like in breaking, and has to take contact while he's making the catch, that I think he can do. Like there were some catches last year. There's one against the Eagles, I think, where he got hit really hard and was able to say making that catch. There was one against the Bengals, I remember. Those catches I think he can make, just tough catches over the middle. So I really think he has a bona fide slot skill set, and we'll see it in a lot of ways.
And especially, hey, if you want to get a quick passing game offense going, having a slot receiver like him is a big deal. So I definitely think he's going to play a role. Do you think that part of the reason that he requested the trade, I was thinking about this, do you think that they had decided to not necessarily bench him, but move him back inside, and that's why he requested the trade? Meaning, like, maybe he felt like he was promised one thing when he was drafted, and then throughout the offseason that he's this team's X receiver, and then they drafted Garrett, and he's like, okay, Garrett's going to replace Corey Davis. But then that week, do you think that they maybe were like, because obviously it's what ended up happening, saying, hey, actually Garrett's going to replace you. We're going to keep Corey Davis at the Z because of his run blocking and his chemistry with Zach. And you're going to move into as the starting slot receiver in a primarily 12 personnel offense. And do you think that's what kind of set him off, in the sense that he felt he was promised one thing, And then now he's the slot receiver in a 12 personnel offense, and he won't be getting the ball as much. Because it seems like, okay, he requested the trade and the Jets made this switch, but the trade request was too strange to have come out of nowhere, that it does kind of explain maybe why it happened. I don't know. It's all speculation, but I was thinking about that. I was like,
it's possible. But it's also possible he's literally just not happy with how many targets he gets. As simple as that. I don't know. Yeah. Both are possible.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think that him being the slot receiver, I still think they can find him a role and have him make an impact. But it probably takes an injury, maybe not even at wide receiver, maybe a tight end injury, for him to really be, a strong focal point of the offense. I think he's probably, looking more at like 3 catches, 4 catches a game, maybe a touchdown, as opposed to Garrett Wilson, who I think is going to get, like 10 targets a game. All right, at Cameron 1151. What is the uni combo we haven't seen yet? Normally, if I was smart, I would have moved this. I think there's actually no. I lumped them together, but I didn't move them to the end. Normally, we do the uniform stuff at the end of the pod, but we're gonna keep it quick on this one. We haven't seen anything with the black tops.
Green on black, we got to see.
We don't have to see green on black. We want to see black jerseys.
But he said, which one haven't we seen yet? So that
black jerseys, green pants, or black jerseys, white pants. I think that's what they do if they face a team that says, you know what, the Jets keep winning on white on black. They clearly don't like their green jerseys. Let's wear white at home, because the Jets have already outlined which games they're going to wear the black helmet. They could still wear the green helmet, but can't they wear the black jerseys with the green helmet, and that doesn't count as one of the...
Should be allowed, right? There's no restriction on the alternate jersey. It's just the helmet, right? Is it?
Well, the rule initially, I think, was with the jerseys. Like, you could wear your alternate jerseys only 3 times, but I think with the helmet, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass here, but I think that they could wear green helmet, black jersey, and then go like white pants or something, which could be kind of a cool look. I don't know. But we haven't seen any variations of the black and green really yet.
I think there is a 3-time limit based on my Google research in the past 5 seconds.
Specifically with the jerseys, not with, if you wear your base helmet, you can?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, all right, never mind then.
But I mean, go green on black to avoid, just get the black pants in there.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't honestly.
I want to see green on black. I think it would be cool.
I want to see. And here's the other uniform question from Matt Meister Werder. He said, "Who decides which uniform combo the team wears each week? I know combos are predetermined, but who makes that call?" I think it's the coach.
It is the head coach, right?
I think it's the coach.
I know we've heard, like, didn't Rex have a preference?
DeVito, when DeVito came onto our podcast, he said that Rex really liked the white on white Super Bowl look, and so that's why they were wearing it all the time during that era. And then he said he hated that because, as a big guy, the white on white isn't always a great look. All right, this next one, and I apologize if I butcher your name, from what is that? Vitamin J. I don't know. Is it Oscar Rhodes? Find him on Twitter. Do we see Robinson take over the third down back role from Ty Johnson? Will Zonovan Knight make an appearance? I think Zonovan Knight is a very interesting name to watch. I do have this sneaking suspicion that we might see him at some point down the stretch here, because I do think that he brings that home run hitting element that none of these other Jets backs bring. And because of that, I think it makes him more appealing to me than a guy like Ty Johnson. Like, if Robinson were to go down, or if Michael Carter were to go down, I'd rather see Zonovan Knight get more reps. And you see this look, this offense comes from San Francisco, and what do we see from the 49ers year in and year out? Bunch of no-name running backs making plays every year, just a cycle every year, like 3-4 guys. And I think Zonovan Knight kind of fits that mold. I mean, this offense, you find those outside zone style runners, guys who have traits that you like, that you feel like they can make that one cut and get upfield. And I think Zonovan Knight has that. He's been in the system the entire summer. He's on the active roster, right? He's not even on the practice squad anymore. I believe he's on the 53. So I think that it would probably take an injury or a Ty Johnson demotion, but I think Ty Johnson plays a lot of special teams, right?
Yeah, he is featured on special teams.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why. But if there's an injury, or if they really like how Knight is playing in practice and they want to demote Ty Johnson, I think you could definitely see a Zonovan Knight appearance. In terms of the first part of that question, I think you've kind of already seen that. I mean, I know Ty Johnson still gets some reps, and I mean, they like the rotation. They'll probably give him some of it, but I think Robinson is a significantly better pass blocker. And so I think that he's probably their third down back. Although, I mean, look, you'll see Michael Carter in some situations. Like, I think Robinson's great he's great for third downs because he's great in short yardage and he's a great pass blocker. So you got like a 3rd and 2, you're confident that you could give that halfback drop the middle and that Robinson's going to find that the first down line, or that he can protect Zach and give him enough time. But if you're 3rd and a little bit longer, and you're running like a screen or something, or, where you'd want your running back to run a route, maybe you'd go with Michael Carter. I think Robinson could bring you everything you want in a third down back. Just if you want a little bit more speed on the field, maybe you go with Michael Carter or Ty Johnson. But I think the most important thing for me in a third down back is blocking, and Robinson has that. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And that basically is exactly what they did last week, because when Johnson played, it was longer distance third downs. Looking at his reps here, he had 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 14. Then when Robinson played those third down situations, it was short yards. He played 3rd and 1, in which he got the carry. Then he stayed out there for 4th and 1, and he had a 3rd and 2, and he had another 3rd and 2 later. And then even 2nd down and 1st down when he's in there, you look at some of the to-go distances on these 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 1st and 7. So, or that's 1st and goal from the 7 when he caught that touchdown, actually. So yeah, they really were using Robinson as that more short yardage guy, whereas, Carter's leading the pack, and then Johnson gets some of these third down reps, which I guess it makes sense to have a third guy who can just give some rest to your other 2 players. I don't really get the fascination with Ty Johnson that much, but yeah, it seems like that's what they're going to do. But I agree with you in terms of Zonovan Knight, and seeing if maybe he'll get a chance eventually, because the Jets did lose that home run hitting element with Breece Hall. It's not something that is going to be replicated with Michael Carter or Robinson or Ty Johnson, and whereas Zonovan Knight might be able to do that. And that's not to say it's so easy to replicate what Breece Hall could do, or else he wouldn't be a high 2nd round pick or they traded up for. But to at least have the threat of that, maybe even to just get 1 or 2 of those type of runs, is something that makes him intriguing. So we'll see if that transpires at some point.
All right, for Matt Silent, I'm going to give this one to you right off the bat. For Matt Silent Mike 03, how much of Quinnen being dominant this year can we attribute to having Lawson back and an elite cornerback duo?
Yeah, I think there's part of it, but I really think he's just playing better, just that simply, because it doesn't feel as if he's just getting more sacks because sometimes he has a little extra time, or sometimes Lawson's creating pressure and he cleans it up. He's getting more legitimate sacks just completely on his own. And the same thing applies for even the non-sack plays. When he's getting a pressure, he's getting a hit, or if he's stuffing a run, or he's creating things for other people. Because in a lot of ways, I think he might actually be helping those 2 groups more than they're helping him. I mean, you look at some of the run stuffs that he's opened up for his teammates, the double teams he's commanded to create one-on-ones for other people. And then, the number of big plays by the secondary that were teed up by good pressure that Quinnen was a part of. So I don't know. I think it partially helps. And that's really the great thing about this defense, is that you have all these positive things complementing one another, working off of each other all at the same time. Everyone's really complementing one another. So there's an aspect of that to this, but I also think he's just breaking out. He looks more athletic. I think he's in the best shape that we've seen him in. He's much better conditioned. He's creating more push with his moves. He's getting off the ball quicker. He really, truly does seem to be as healthy and well conditioned as ever. And then he's also just kind of putting it all together technically. He just wins so consistently. So I think it's mostly him, but there also is an aspect of everything kind of working together.
Yeah, physically he does look a lot bigger and more toned. He looks I think one of the things you have to attribute his season to is the fact that he was healthy in the offseason, which I don't know if he's been healthy when you go back through his different offseasons. He definitely wasn't healthy last year. First year installing the Sala system, he missed all of mini camp. I think he even missed part of training camp too, right? Because he hurt his foot. I think was it a broken foot? I kind of forget. But I know he missed the entire summer heading into 2021, and then played in training camp, and then was ready to go. And I think he had some moments, and where you could give some credence to this question is, like a lot of him winning does come from the coverage downfield. Like he still wins his reps, but it does kind of take the quarterback to have to hitch or to kind of get off that first read for him to be able to close, especially as a defensive tackle. Like you need your corners to hold up. Otherwise, you'll see what happened last year where he would have wins, he would have dominant reps, but if the quarterback's getting the ball out of his hands, it doesn't really show up in the stat sheet and people forget about it. Quinnen Williams has been a fantastic player since 2020. You could be legitimately concerned about him a little bit in 2019, but people have to remember that he was a one-year wonder basically at Alabama and an incredible season at Alabama. But it was really his only year, and then go straight into the NFL. And rookie defensive linemen tend to take a little bit longer to develop. I mean, it's just it's so different than any part of the game, that trench warfare down there. I mean, it's essentially a martial art in its own. So he has to learn that, refine his tools, change his body. I mean, you look at his body composition, he's looked different in every single year. And this year he definitely looks like the strongest, best version of himself. And so you're seeing him knock guys back with his bull rush or knock guys back with one arm a lot more consistently than you saw when he was a little younger in his career. And then, like you said, like he's refined some of the things technically, and he's put himself in better shape, so he's lasting longer. And then that coupled with, he has other dogs in that defensive line to take some pressure off of him, and he has the corners to hold up behind him. So that all has culminated in an all-pro season for Quinnen. But regardless, you take away the corners, you take away the other dogs in the defensive line. Is he having quite as good of a statistical season? No, but you would still be able to watch him on film and be like, holy shit, This guy's such a dog.
100%, yeah.
Okay, from @basing the weight again. I apologize. In your opinion, will Jamien Sherwood be able to take a larger role in the linebacking core next year, or is this a position that'll have to be filled early in the draft? I think it's too early to say, and I think there's a few future questions coming up here. Look, they clearly liked him. They took him. I think he was their first day 3 pick of 2021. They took him ahead of Michael Carter II, right? And Brandon Eccles.
Yeah, of the defensive players. Yeah, it was Carter, then Sherwood.
Right. So he was, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, Carter was day 3. But of the defensive guys, he was the first guy they took. I think they liked his athletic profile. When you look at Edmonds in Buffalo, and Saleh calls these guys, I think he called him an avatar, just in terms of like a complete physical freak in terms of his length and his athleticism. And I think that's what they thought they were getting in Jamien Sherwood. The torn Achilles probably slowed him down a little bit, but I still like his athletic profile. Those long arms take up so much space and clearly help in tackling. And I thought he filled in admirably for a little bit there when CJ Mosley went out. I know he didn't. I think he had one negative play on that Allen scramble, but outside of that, it's too early to tell. We haven't really seen enough of him to say one way or the other. I like his profile, and he is the type of guy where when you talk about winning organizations being able to, replace overpaid vets or just have a day 3 guy that you develop and you grow, and then by year 3 or year 4 he's a starter and he's playing well, and then you either resign him or let him go and you get the comp pick. Like that whole cycle that the Jets have just completely missed out on from bad drafting the last decade. He does seem like the perfect type of player to, CJ Mosley's getting old, we're grooming his replacement right here. At the year after next year you let Mosley walk and then Sherwood's your starter maybe. But I think Mosley's back next year regardless, right? Because of the contract, right?
Yeah.
So Mosley's going to be here. I think Sherwood will probably be his backup. Depending on Quan or Quincy, maybe they let Quan go. I think they'll try to add to the linebacker unit a little bit, but it's too early to tell on Jamien Sherwood. But I haven't seen anything from him that would make me say no way. It is funny though. The better you get though, your standard increases, and so I don't know if if you gun to my head, if I had to make that decision, I don't know if I'd want to trust a day 3 rookie as a starting linebacker immediately. Like, I don't know. But if this was 2 years ago and you're just trying to watch your guys develop, all right, sure. Let's go ahead and roll out all these rookies. And these
that's a good point. Definitely changes it when, you're winning games and you just sign Quan Alexander and he comes right in and plays really well. You're like, why did we spend all these years just hoping and praying with these, lottery picks?
Bless Austin and Blake Cashman. And
yeah,
it makes sense.
Obviously, you have to go through that to get to this point in the first place, because some of those did work out, and that's why the Jets are here. But right now it seems like
part.
But I don't know. I don't think Sherwood's really shown me anything yet to feel like he deserves that. But I mean, he'll still be around, and we'll see what holes the Jets have to fill here. Maybe they restructure Mosley or find a way to get rid of him. I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of him next year, but and then there's the other guys, Quincy, see what happens with them. So
Yeah.
they might have a hole, and Sherwood will still be here and he'll get a chance to compete. So we'll see what happens. But to this point, I can't say he's shown me anything that, and most of it's because he hasn't really played, but
Yeah.
Sherwood
Sherwood
really showed enough to feel like that's going to happen.
he does have a great athletic profile though. And then you think the fact that he played safety, his coverage should be better than average, but we haven't really seen it. I'd like to see him in coverage. I'd like to see that lateral quickness. But physically, I mean, you pretty much couldn't build a better linebacker. So we'll see. From Matt Gad Game Time. Normally this time of year, we're talking about the draft in a negative way, saying they need two of everything. With how JD built this team, I don't think that's the case next year. What do you think we target next year for the draft and free agency? And I think we also got another one. We got from at Andre Morton picks. Since we won't be talking 2023 until after the postseason, hopefully, what positions players do you think the Jets go after in free agency / the draft? All right, Andre, I don't know if we're going to go into specific players. The Jets are winning football. I don't even know who's a free agent next year. But
by this point, in most years, we know the whole free agent class, the whole draft class. We'd be on Tankathon, refreshing that.
Oh yeah,
making sure the Jets could be up top. But
how many?
I haven't even looked at any of those websites.
Yeah, how many drafted or like draft eligible players you think you could name? Maybe not draft eligible.
0.
Like if you had to predict like the top
Bryce
10.
Young,
Yeah,
CJ Stroud. That's it.
The quarterbacks and like a few guys you might see on a Saturday. But yeah, at this point last year, we'd already have a big board and be watching guys.
I already know like the offensive tackles.
Yeah, at this point last year, I already knew who Sauce Gardner was. And I guess a lot of people did. It's not like that was unique, but yeah, I don't even care. I don't care about Saturday football at all this year.
Another big reason why I don't think, aside from the fact that it's not fun to talk about when you're actually winning. In addition to that, another reason I think it's not really the greatest time to talk about it is there's still a whole 8 games left. It's not, the book isn't closed on any of these players on the team, what they've produced this year. So You can't just say this guy's good, we got to replace him, or this guy's good, he's going to stick around, or this guy's bad, we got to replace him. There's half the season left. If Laken Tomlinson, the next 8 games, not that he's going to go anywhere because of his contract, but just as an example, if he the next 8 games is exactly who he was supposed to be, then, which is completely possible because players have hot streaks and cold streaks, then the narrative is completely different on what the Jets need to do.
I think
with him in that guard. So I just think there's a whole lot of season left for the players to establish the narrative of what they produced this season.
Exactly. However, we kind of know where they're locked in. Like Jordan Whitehead is not going anywhere. I think the cornerback room is going to look the same next year. The defensive line room is pretty much built and constructed to be here next year. So I don't think you're going to see too much movement there. Free safety with Joyner, I think that's definitely a spot they'll upgrade next year. Linebacker, it's too early to tell, like you said, but what they'll do with Quincy and Quan, but Mosley will be here. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think offensive line, you're going to see a big investment in, especially through the draft. Like, I think we'll see like you said, like how Connor McGovern plays over this next 8 games definitely determines if he's back or not next year. The tackle situation, I think there's another. I think it's the next question. Okay, well, there we are. Which is from at Jack_Nadao 2. Who's your right tackle for the remainder of the season? Keep Agbuehi and roll with the. Oh wait, my bad. There's one in the future, which is what should they do at the. Oh, here it is from at. All right, we're coming back to you. But from at one Foster, what would your plan be for tackle next year? Is Mekhi, Max, Dwayne, AVT enough as the core, or do you bring back Fant and or look at other options in draft free agency? I think that is too early to tell, like you said. But if Max Mitchell over the next 8 games plays incredibly well, maybe you're penciling him in as a guy who can start. I think the positional flexibility that AVT gives you, allows you to maybe not necessarily pencil in Mekhi Becton as a starter, but at least kind of try to keep him in your plans, because if you have a guy like AVT and Herbig's playing really well, maybe you can try to be like, all right, our ideal offensive line would be Becton at right tackle, AVT at right guard. But if Becton gets injured, we have a guy like AVT we can bounce out there. I don't know. It's too early to say, but I think you'll see a heavy investment at offensive line, and I think you'll see them at a safety, and then might see some tweaks at the skill positions or whatever. But this team is pretty intact and should be that way next season. All right, enough of the future questions. There was a few of them, but like you said, we got to keep it focused on this year. All right, from at Jack_Nadao.
Were we going to talk about rest of the season for right tackle?
That's what I'm doing right now. Who's your right tackle for the remainder of the
Okay.
season? Because
Okay, I got lost there at those
yeah,
questions.
I know, me too. I accidentally read this one.
All right.
Who's your right tackle for the remainder of the season? Keep Agbuehi and roll with the current chemistry. Fant at his hated right tackle position or develop Mitchell. Thanks, guys. Hashtag shoot McDermott to the moon.
Love it.
Love it. I think.
So I guess he's not going to be the guy we're going to hang out with either.
Yeah, oh God. Yeah, I know. I hated they cut to McDermott too when they won. Did you see that? I don't know if the game was.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Like I was like, why are we seeing Connor McDermott right now? He's like the one guy that all right, whatever. I think it's gonna be Fant. I think that's what they'll do. I have a few reasons for this. I'm curious. I have by your silence, I think.
Well, before you get into it, I just think quickly, isn't Mitchell going to come back first? Because Salah said today that Mitchell's coming back to practice, but Fant is not coming back to practice this week.
I did not see that. Thank you for the correction. Then that changes things. Then I think it'll be Mitchell. I thought I was going to go with Fant because, look, this is a guy who was a team captain in 2020, different coaching staff, but he's a veteran, respected in that locker room, played his ass off last year and had a really good season, and then has been injured for most of training camp. He got injured at the end of last year and doesn't sound like he's maybe fully recovered, and then got injured this year. So I was hoping that maybe if he was healthy, they put him out there. I also think that while Mitchell's the better run blocker, Fant is definitely the better pass blocker, and they want to protect Zach. So for all those reasons, and just the fact that Fant is a veteran and Mitchell's a 4th-round pick, you get the luxury of putting Fant out there first, and if he's struggling, you can put Mitchell in there. So I was going to say play him there, but maybe you're right. Maybe they go, well, you are right. If Mitchell's ready first, then it'll be Mitchell at right tackle. Then the question becomes, and I think I already know the answer to this, but let's say Mitchell comes back at right tackle. He does okay. Would you, and Fant gets healthy, do you consider swapping Fant in for Dwayne Brown? Because Fant was supposed to be your left tackle. Brown was brought in as the backup, and then, injuries happened. But actually, that's not true. They brought in Brown for the visit to be the swing tackle, but they didn't sign him until Becton went down, and then he was going to be the starting left tackle. So
right.
I don't know. What do you think they do with the right tackle situation, and specifically George Fant? He's the one who really fascinates me.
I mean, if Mitchell's going to come back first, I think he's going to take that right tackle spot because, the way he was just basically brought off the street as the last resort option.
Yeah.
So I think, and, Mitchell, before he went out, was playing pretty well, I think, relative to expectations. I don't think he was above average yet for a starter, just without the rookie curve. But like we discussed while he was playing, it was much better than you expected. And I think probably better than what Agbuehi is right now. And to be fair, he was doing some work in the Bills game. He was definitely a big part of that performance, which I think is just a testament to John Benton, the offensive line coach, and really just the team as a whole, for them to be able to pull together and just get this offensive line production, despite all these, this makeshift unit, all these guys coming together with all the injuries and everything. So credit to them. But I do think Mitchell's probably an upgrade over Agbuehi, and he's also a potential part of the future. So I do think if he's healthy, and he was starting anyway before he went out, so I do think when he's healthy, he's going to come back. But then if Fant comes back after that, which, seems like that's where we're headed, that's going to be a few weeks after Mitchell, then it gets really interesting. Do you bench Dwayne Brown and put Fant back at left tackle? Because you're paying Brown a decent bit of money. Do you put Fant back at right tackle so you keep Brown in the lineup? They have some very interesting decisions to make. But at the same time, I think, because let's see what happens in this Patriots game. I'm assuming Mitchell's not going to play in this game if he's just coming back to practice this week. And maybe he does, but we'll see what happens. But if he doesn't, and you have another good game with this lineup, even with Agbuehi in there, maybe you stick with that if that is what is working. So I don't know. They have a lot of decisions to make here. We'll see what they do. But Fant's health is a big part of it, because we know the Fant they had at the beginning of the year is not even close to the player he was last year. He clearly wasn't healthy. So giving him some time off is the right thing. But we'll see, even after these few weeks, is he back to that point, even now? So we'll see what happens. I do think it's likely Mitchell takes that spot back once he's ready to play. But at the same time, let's see what they do this week if Mitchell doesn't play, because, again, I got to give Agbuehi some credit. He did play a pretty sizable role in that rushing attack last week.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a guy that you want to keep around for sure. He
Yeah.
looks great. As even if he's just a long-term depth option, you need depth at the offensive line every year. Like more guys will go out. Having a guy like Ogbuehi around is huge. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they're going to go with put in Mitchell. I don't think they want to make too many changes. The offensive line has been a revolving door, and so much of O-line play comes down to chemistry. And so I don't think they're going to pull Dwayne Brown unless he's really struggling, because that affects Lakin. I think you want Lakin to be settled. I think Brown's had some good moments. He's gotten beat on some other times, but overall, I've been okay with the way he's played. So I think just putting in Mitchell, and if he's playing well, then I think Fant just sits on the bench until there's an injury. But that's a good good catch on that, because I did not see that news about Fant. I am curious to see if he does come back, because the injury situation with him is getting a little weird now, but we'll see. Did Saleh give a timeline at all? Did he say he's just not back yet?
I don't think so. Yeah, just said he's not back.
Didn't he have a quote a few weeks ago that was a little weird that you pointed out to me, or like just keep an eye on?
Didn't he say like if he comes back, or he
Yeah.
wasn't committal on him? I don't know. It's not headed down a good road with Fant. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest.
I don't think Fant is back, unless he comes back and then plays really well the last few games of the year. Then maybe they work something out. But I think they have a lot of tackles. They need guys who can stay on the field, but Brown is locked in for next year, if I'm not mistaken. They have Becton. I know you can't rely on him. AVT has tackle flexibility, and maybe he's a guy that you want to keep out of tackle because he's so damn good. I mean, I'll throw a Boyhe in there as well. So I don't think Fant comes back. I think they'll probably bring in somebody else. But we'll see. All right, from Matt Ben Thornhill 199. Did the Jets make a mistake not trying to get Marcus May? They looked at a safety in the offseason. No, they did not make a mistake, especially when you look at what Marcus May got paid. Didn't he also get arrested too?
Yeah.
At one point. So no, they didn't make a mistake at all. Although I do feel for him a little bit, because he was here during some of the most brutal years and has been an absolute champ about it. And then including last year when he popped his Achilles against the Colts. So I do feel a little bit bad for Marcus May. Now he's with New Orleans, and of course he's on. I was watching. You know what I took away from the bye week on Sunday was watching all these former Jets, and actually a lot of them made plays. I mean, like you saw Lawrence Cager touchdown, and I think Jason Pinnock had a sack, and Jacob Martin was going off. But the OG former Jets, like Keelan Cole and Marcus May, and I'm trying to think, there was a few other ones. But I was like, damn, must suck to be those guys, especially the guys that were here last year and now are on another team and on maybe a bad team, like both Keelan and Marcus May are on. And finally the Jets turn it around. They're not there. I mean, Foley fought Akasi in Jacksonville. I don't know. So random sidebar, but no, they didn't make a mistake not trying to bring back Marcus May. I think Joyner has his flaws and will, has cost him a few times, and we'll see how he performs down the end of the year. I think they will definitely look to upgrade that position. They seem to be pretty high on Tony Adams. Doesn't seem like, you can't pencil that guy in for anything, but we'll keep an eye on him. I think Ashton Davis has had some moments. Will Parks, like their safety unit as a whole is actually not too bad, but they definitely need a better starter to pair with Whitehead. If they, maybe not definitely, but I would like to see a better starter paired with Whitehead, or maybe a guy that I'm more confident in. What do you think about what do you think about the safety spot this year, and maybe the job that Joyner's done?
Yeah, well, first of all, I agree on May. I don't think there was a mistake there, considering the whole DUI situation with him. He's not that durable, and just the contract he got was not, I think, ideal for the Jets and what they were looking to do. So I think they were fine with that. Obviously, that's not to say Joyner's better than him, but just considering all that. But the way the safety position has played out is really interesting, because it still is the weakest part of this defense on paper, but it just doesn't feel like it's crushed the Jets as much as you expected it would, especially after the first few games. The Ravens game, they were clearly the weakest link of the defense. I mean, it was pretty much all of them, the points they gave up. And then the Browns game wasn't much better. The Bengals game wasn't much better. So through 3 games, it was pretty ugly. But since then, they've kind of settled down, and I wouldn't say they've been good, because there's still been mistakes here and there. Joyner's had plays where he's gotten a little lucky when he's been beat. Whitehead's missed some tackles. You look at the Patriots game when Ramondre Stevenson was running crazy. A lot of those big runs were missed tackles by Joyner and Whitehead. So I think it's still a weakness. It's still probably a below average duo, but they've managed, for the sake of this team right now, they've managed to be just good enough to their capability for them to stay afloat. And I think for right now, the next few weeks, that's what you need. Just keep the big mistakes to as much of a minimum as you can. And then they've both occasionally contributed a big play where the Jets needed it. Although I would have loved for Whitehead to catch that second interception against the Bills, but we'll give him some slack because he got the first one, although that was very easy. But I think they've done enough the past few weeks. So we'll see what happens next year. I think free safety, you definitely look to make a big improvement there. I think that'll be one of the prime positions to improve. And Whitehead, we'll see how he finishes out this season, but I think there's a good chance he's back too. I know we said we're not going to talk about the future. Now here we are doing it, but yeah, look at this team, just the way they performed this year. I think the last, starting the Steelers game when they had that combined very good performance, from that point on, I think they've, again, not necessarily been good, but they've been good enough considering what the Jets have elsewhere for the Jets to still be an elite defense over that span.
All right, from at Bastion Hibon again. I'm sorry, guys. Hibon, what do you think this? You're looking at the doc, Mike. What do you? It's definitely Bastion.
I'm just hanging you out to dry on all.
Okay.
It's one of the best bits.
Hibon. Bastion Hibon. Hibon. I don't know. Hibon. Culture has now changed. So apart from gaining experience as they are a young team and QB progress, as Zach still needs to play better, what are the key areas the Jets need to improve to anchor themselves as a top tier team that is here to stay and compete year after year? Well, okay. So what did you say? So apart from gaining experience and QB progress. So that knocks out two pretty obvious ones, I would say, especially quarterback. I mean, like that really does seem to be the common denominator of teams that are year in and year out consistently good. But look at the 49ers. I mean, what are when you look at the 49ers and the Jets, what are the biggest differences?
I think the offensive line and not even just the offensive line, but the whole blocking unit is a big part of it. And I think the Jets have some good things going there. Obviously, injuries have hurt that quite a bit this season, but they're establishing that identity in terms of the blocking, even with what Corey Davis can do, having the two tight ends they have. So I think they're making some progress there. And then on an overall level with this question, I think you look at the defense too, and I think a big part of being a consistent contender year over year is having core franchise players you can rely on. And defensively, they now have a couple of those in Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, in addition to various other solid players who you hopefully have for years to come. But it all starts with those franchise players, I think. And with Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, they now have two, top of the line players who can really build your whole scheme, your whole identity around, and find players who complement them and feel good about adding players who can benefit from what those guys do. So I think those are the big things. And you mentioned the Niners. That's a big part of why the Niners are consistently successful is they found some franchise players, over the past few years. And George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams. On defense, they have Fred Warner. They have Nick Bosa. They have franchise guys you could rely on every year. You can plug the rest of the holes, but you can rely on those two guys every single year to be top of the line players. And the Jets are starting to get some of those. And you look offensively, Garrett Wilson can be that for you. And hopefully Breece Hall can come back healthy and be the same thing. So I think franchise players are the biggest key. In addition to the two things the question mentions here, quarterback, obviously essential, and then just overall culture and experience. Those things, of course, are important too for sustained winning, but you need franchise players. And the Jets over this playoff drought, they've had very good players. You go from the Muhammad Wilkersons, Sheldon Richardson, Jamal Adams. They've had some decent receivers and running backs, but they never had franchise players. Maybe Jamal Adams flirted with it a little bit. But other than that, they never really had those superstar players who people around sports Twitter are hating on, even if they're not Jets fans. Those are the type of players you need. Players who people talk about, even if there's no reason for them to talk about them. That's who you need, and the Jets have some of them now.
Yeah, and kind of relating to what you're saying, but I was just thinking about it in terms of this question. The biggest difference between this year's team and just the last decade really is coaching, obviously, and there's a lot of different layers to that. But in terms of their game plans, and not just their game plans, but their in-game adjustments this year and halftime adjustments this year, We got a tweet about this, so I feel like I should shout out whoever tweeted us to talk about this. But it was a great point to bring up. It's the fact that all the fourth quarter talk, and you can attribute that to their mentality and their rotation and a bunch of other different things. But the actual coaching adjustments that they've made has been flawless, especially from LaFleur. I feel like he's done a great job of setting things up in the first half and then working off it in the second half. And that was something we talked about a lot when we were looking at a bunch of different head coaching candidates 2 years ago on this podcast. And we talked about how, like, when you watch Kyle Shanahan offense, like a lot of what you see in that first half, okay, they might score a touchdown on the drive or might have positive plays, but a lot of it is to set up what they're going to do later. And it almost seems like he's playing like 4D chess in a way, where it was like when Adam Gase, it was like, okay, he can put together that one good drive, but when the defense makes the adjustment, he flips the whole chessboard. He has no idea what to do. He just keeps trying to do the same thing that he did at the start of the game. And you see the Jets in their coaching and their ability to not just make in-game adjustments, but to adjust on a weekly basis, depending on who gets injured. And so when you were talking about the offensive line, I was just thinking about the job that Benton has done this season in terms of like, okay, they've gotten good performances from McBuehey and Herbig, but there's a lot of offensive line play that is schematically, when you set up a run, you obviously you need the guys to win their reps. If you have a terrible offensive lineman out there, Connor McDermott might throw things off, but a lot of run blocking and the running game does come from coaching. And I think that the coaches on this team are the reason why this looks so much different. And in terms of why can they be winning year in and year out? It's because I finally have faith in who the Jets have, not only drafting, but on game days, on the sideline, like all the culture stuff. That's obviously huge, but in terms of strategy, I trust the Jets strategically now. And I don't think you could say that for Todd Bowles. You couldn't really say that for Rex Ryan all the time. Defensively, yeah, but did I really trust Brian Schottenheimer or Marty Morningweg or Tony Sperano or who are some of the other Chan Gailey, like all these other guys schematically and strategically week in and week out, like I do LaFleur or, I guess I'll throw Ulbrich and Saul in there. No. And so that's why I'm so confident in the Jets moving forward. Even if this year they get hit with some injuries or Zach doesn't develop and it kind of falls apart, maybe they miss the playoffs, whatever, I think you could still be optimistic about what they're building here and the coaches they have in the building. Obviously, that scenario sounds horrible, but I think more likely you're talking about a team that makes the playoffs and then maybe doesn't have, barring a really good second half from Zach, maybe doesn't have the offensive firepower to win it all and go to a Super Bowl. So I think you're probably looking at a team that maybe gets a playoff win and then loses. And if you're sitting there in January, you have to be very optimistic about what the Jets can maybe do next year. And okay, I brought this point up, Michael, and I know you got mad at me when I said it because there's no point in dwelling in the past. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, every team has injuries. And the only reason I bring it up is just because of what it means for next year. But if Breece Hall and AVT didn't get injured, the Jets legitimately could have won a Super Bowl this year. And they still could. It's not crazy to say they are 6-3 and their defense is among the best in the league. And when you have an amazing defense, especially like the type of season the Jets are getting from guys like Quinnen and Sauce and DJ Reed, you could win a Super Bowl, but it would help to pair that with an elite running game like they had. They need Zach to really step up if they want to win playoff games. But in terms of looking at the future and not getting ahead of ourselves, like, look, we weren't talking Super Bowl here on this pod. We were talking playoffs. So let's keep the focus, which was, we just want to see them win meaningful games. That's right. What they've done this year. But looking ahead, I'm just saying they get Breece back, they get AVT, what they've been building. Like, I won't put it out there, but I don't know. Maybe a championship parade coming in the next few years. Is that absurd to say? They're set up for
trending in that direction. They're setting themselves up for it. And I think you're right, regardless of how the season plays out, even if it, like you said, hopefully doesn't happen, but even if they don't make the playoffs, and hopefully if that does happen, it's, with 9-10 wins, not a complete crash and burn, but they're setting themselves up for sustained success. Absolutely. And I think that's what, Saleh and Douglas talked about from the very beginning last season, is that it was always about sustained success, and they are putting themselves in position to do that. And that's what's most exciting about this season in comparison to like the 2015 season, for example, is that it feels like what they're doing can last. It feels like the start of something, not just we have to get this right now, but more like, it would would be great to do as much as you can right now, but it also feels like they'll be back and they will be able to continue building on it and improving. And that's the ultimate goal, because if you do want to win a Super Bowl, you have to give yourself as many chances as possible, because regardless of how good you are, the playoffs are a crapshoot. You got to win 3 or 4 games in a row. You got to have your best. It's hard to have that click. There are a lot of teams trying to get it done each year. Only one can do it. So you have to give yourselves a chance year after year after year if you want the best opportunity to get that one. And it seems like the Jets are setting themselves up to do that. So we'll see what happens. And in terms of, Brees and AVT, just for me personally, like I try not to bring it up too much because I feel like it's, like I'm trying to enjoy what's happening. Those injuries happened and it sucks, but you just got to live with it. So I don't try to like dwell on it too much. But at the same time, like you said, it is future thinking. It does help. It does add to what the future could be.
Exactly. And if they get consistent quarterback play, there isn't a ceiling on what this team can do. And I won't get absurd, but I feel like I keep qualifying myself and say I don't want to get absurd, but it's like, all right, Jets are 6-3. Like they could make a playoff run this year, but it's going to come down to the quarterback play. And I think until people see it consistently week in and week out, anything having the Jets and Super Bowl in the same sentence is going to sound ridiculous. This comes from the Shanahan tree. They went to the Super Bowl with Garoppolo. But we saw Zach's version of Jimmy Garoppolo on Sunday against the Bills, a guy who could manage the game and take care of the football. But he has to do that consistently. If we're getting consistent Zach performances, yes, losing AVT and Brees hurts, but if they stay healthy, they can go on a run this year, right now. Because like you said, you never know when these windows open up. But yes, in terms of the future, getting those two guys, throw Becton in there as well. I think, if he could be healthy, he's definitely a mover. You have to be optimistic about what the future holds. All right, next question from @_Doughbowl_. Should we even do this, Michael? I mean, this is he wants us. Okay, I'll read out exactly what he wrote. He wrote Doc's live coin flip for the rest of the schedule on the pod, which Michael and I have deciphered to mean do a live coin flip for the rest of the schedule on the pod. Is that encroaching on @Nooner Nation's copyright? Does it mess with the coin flip, juju that we got going on?
I think we're in the clear, and I'm more than okay with messing with it, because with all due respect, I do appreciate what it's done to this point, but I am not trying to see the Jets get swept by the Pats and lose to Justin Fields. And also, as much as I would appreciate the AFC Championship run, let's shoot a little bit higher than that. So let's go ahead and do this.
Okay. All right. So I'll flip a coin. You got to read them out to me. You might have to give some commentary while I do this. You're going to announce every game. I'll flip the coin. I'll tell you heads or tails. You can see me on camera, so I'm not lying. I'll flip it and I'll catch it and flip it back onto my hand. Okay. All right. You read them out.
Make sure you do that, because there is actually a little behind the scenes look here. There's actually a cut out take of this that we did where you kept letting it go on the floor, and we didn't get the best results. So we started over. We're going to do this a little more professionally.
I got to relieve the trade secrets. All right, fine.
All right. So we got @New England coming out of the bye.
Big one. All right. Heads is a win. Tails is a loss. All right. Ready?
And if it lands on the side, it's a tie.
Oh, fuck. Loss. It's a tails.
All right. 6-4.
6-4, baby. All right.
So far, the Nooner Nation is holding up.
All right. Back. All right. This is got to beat the Bears, though. Here we go. 6-4. Right. Come on. That's a win, baby.
All right.
Let's go.
So we're officially on our own track here. We're 7-4.
Here we go.
Going into Minnesota for week 13.
And that's a win, baby. All right. There we go.
All right. So we are 8-4.
8-4, baby. All right. What's this one? The Bills?
Right. At the Bills, Sunday Night Football, as we're
Probably. All right. Here we go. That's a loss.
That's a loss?
Yeah, it's a loss.
All right, 8-5. Not the worst spot to be.
Yeah, but we only beat the 2 NFC teams. Not going to help us in the wild card race.
Tiebreaker.
So what's the record right now?
We are 8-5, 2-2 post bye. We got home against the Lions coming up here.
They really do have some breathing room there. The fact that they lost 2 of those games and they're 8-5 is pretty nice. All right, here we go. What is this one? The Lions?
Detroit.
Here we go. Here comes Detroit. And Saleh and Sauce get their revenge. I don't know if it's revenge.
All right.
They beat the hometown team.
Yeah.
LaFleur
also was a Michigan guy.
Oh, all right. I like that improves our odds for that game. This is Jacksonville.
9-5 going into primetime spotlight against Jacksonville, week 16.
All right, here we go. Oh, that coin flip is way over there, but I caught it.
Oh,
and it's a win.
All right.
You see that catch?
10-5.
Wingspan. Dang. That was Justin Jefferson right there.
Right. We're in a nice spot going into the Geno revenge game in week 17.
Oh, come on, Geno. So if they're 10-5, by the way, I was looking at like not to stall this, but like the Dolphin schedule, the Bengals schedule, the Chargers. Like I was looking at the other AFC teams that are fighting for that wild card, assuming that the Bills win the division, although that's not necessarily a foregone conclusion. But if the Jets are battling for the wild card, a lot of those teams, man, they have tough schedules.
No, I agree. I was looking at them. They do have, I would say the Jets have, the big difference is the Jets have more winnable games left. I think those Jaguars, Lions, Bears games, the Bengals and Dolphins don't have the same number of those kind of games. So the Jets really need to take advantage of those. That's what's going to set them apart.
So we'll see. But I think that they, as tight as it is right now, a lot of these teams might lose over the next few weeks. So,
and here in the AFC East, there's still plenty of intra-division games left. So those obviously are going to play a big part. As
cool as it would be to win the division, I'm just focused on just get one of those wild card spots.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Honestly, the Jets match up well with pretty much every AFC team. Even I would say the team that actually scares me the most is Baltimore. Is that crazy to say? Like, obviously Kansas City's unbelievable, but I feel like the Jets actually match up all right with KC in terms of look what we saw, what they did. Well, we're getting off track. What am I doing here? Look at what you saw them do to Buffalo is basically what I'm saying. Like a team that runs the ball really well and plays great defense scares me a lot more than a team like KC, where it's like, all right, well, they have the corners to shut down the weapons. They can put sauce on a guy like Travis Kelce. That defense is, opportunistic, but they're not scary. So I don't know. What are we, 10-5?
10-5.
All right, here we go. All right, this is going into the Geno game, 10-5. That one hit the ground. Are we counting it? I haven't looked at it. Are we going to count it?
Let's count it.
Let's count it. Okay, ready? And Michael says to count it, and it's a win. Baby.
All right, 11-5 should be clinched by this point.
Definitely a controversial win, but they definitely clinched it. 11-5.
I think it's representative of how the game is going to go. There's going to be some weird call or something at the end, or some fan runs on the field in the middle of a potential game-winning touchdown by Geno Smith, and that's what this represents. But Jets get the win. It's kind of like, wait, what was that play that? Wasn't there like a Vinny Testaverde?
Yeah, I was going to say
didn't actually get, and that was against the Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
It's you. A little history lesson for you, because you weren't even. I mean, neither was I watching the team at that point. But yeah, Justin Seahawks, I could see it. So we're 11-5, entering that last week of the season. I think they've definitely clinched it.
I would say there's a division shot here. This could be for the division.
What's Buffalo's schedule again? Well, I won't look at it. But yeah, okay, maybe. I think.
You don't think the Bills will lose 2 games by then? They do some winnable games. They have Cleveland, Detroit, New England, Jets, Dolphins, Bears, Bengals, Patriots.
We need like the Bengals to do us a solid.
Bengals and Pats, or maybe the
Dolphins. Yeah, maybe. It's close. I think they probably have it locked down. It's just seeding at this point, which I think, I don't know. It's too early.
The only way, if the Jets at this point are 11-5, the only way the Bills could have it locked up over them is if they've gone undefeated. Because if they lost 1 game, the Jets can still tie them and get ahead. Oh no, they lost the Bills game. I guess it would come down to tiebreaker then.
I don't think the Bills will have it because of the Jets AFC. Because the Jets have lost to the Ravens. All 3 of the Jets losses are AFC. I mean, I guess all 2 of the Bills losses. Oh yeah,
we got
too,
them
but
5-0 in the NFC with this prediction, right? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So there's the conference record not on their side.
All right. Well, here we go. Either way, last game of the season at Miami. This is for, what are they, 11-5 right now?
Yep.
Wow. All right, here we go. Last game of the year. And it's a win. 12-5.
4 in a row to close
12-5. All right. Kind of realistic, honestly.
Where does that put them? 5th seed, I guess.
Let's just give them the wild card, because I don't know if I don't think that 12-5 is enough for the 1 seed. It's either they're going to be in the wild card. So,
all right, I got something here to set up some playoff matchups for us. So I went to NFL Playoff Predictor here. It's next.playoffpredictors.com. And so you can randomize the predictions for all the games the rest of the year, and it gives you the standings and the playoff matchups. So what seed did you say will give the Jets here? What do you think?
Give them a 5 seed.
All right.
Let's say Buffalo wins the division.
Okay. So they have the 4 seed as the Bengals winning the AFC North.
What?
This is based on random picks for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, the random picks, no. All right. Four seed's going to be Tennessee. The 3 seed will be Baltimore, 2 will be Buffalo, and 1 will be KC. Probably.
I guess that's true. Let's make up our own predictions.
Yeah, I mean, it could be any order of that, but it'll be the AFC South champ, which will be Tennessee. So it'll be
Tennessee. I guess Tennessee would be 4th seed.
Yeah.
Forget the playoff predictor.
Yeah, fuck the playoff predictor. I like the idea though. I like the.
I had a good idea.
Yeah. All right.
You had a better one.
Yeah.
So Tennessee 4th seed. Let's say.
All right, Tennessee versus the Jets. I think the Jets match up actually pretty well against Tennessee, but they can run the football. Like I said, that is dangerous, but Jets are more talented in my opinion. Here we go.
Oh yeah, never mind.
What'd you say? What were you gonna say?
I thought you were predicting. I forgot.
Oh yeah, okay. You know what? This was not a clean catch. I'm not gonna count this.
In the coin.
Technically that was a win. Should I count it? Did you see what happened?
It's still random.
Okay, I wasn't gonna count it until I saw it was a win, and then I was like, okay. Well, I flipped it up and then I caught it with my elbow, and then I was like, shit. And I looked and it was a win.
Still random. That's
all
the
right,
point.
Another controversial.
All right, we're going to the divisional.
All right, we're going to the divisional.
Jets at this point are a much hated team with 2 controversial wins here.
They're probably playing.
All right, so as the 5 seed,
they're probably playing either. Well,
they would play the 2 seed most likely, right?
Well, they would need one of the wild cards to win for that to be the case. Which honestly it might be considering how strong the wild cards. But
they play the 1 seed would play the lowest remaining seed,
right?
Oh, so they could be playing the 5,
right?
Or the 1.
Exactly. If the favorited teams win, then yeah, because
yes, they would be playing the 1.
So are we saying this is in KC? I think one of the wild cards will win though. So this is all bullshit at this point, Michael.
Let's just say those games.
No, no. This is just getting off the rails here. They're going to KC. This is KC. Here we go. Ready? Coin is up. Okay, that's also not a clean catch, but considering we counted the last one, we're going to count this one. I don't know where it is.
Some suspense here.
I got to find it. It landed somewhere in this couch. All right, ready? It's a win.
Yes.
We're going to the AFC Championship, baby.
Are we playing Buffalo?
Yeah, I guess we'll say this is Buffalo. All right, they're 1-1 at this point. Here we go. 1-1 at Buffalo, AFC Championship. Chance for either of them to go to the Super Bowl. Both fan bases desperate for a Super Bowl win. Here we go. At Buffalo.
It's all up to the coin.
All up to the magical coin.
Oh, I love that sound.
It's a very satisfying and it's a win.
Yes. Believe in the coin. Forget the Nooner coin. We got to trust in the blessing.
The CYJ pot. Yeah, the CYJ potted coin is definitely
the blessing coin.
All right, this is it.
All right,
who is the Super Bowl? Billy? Eagles. Who definitely
nice northeastern battle between green flying teams.
Not a great uniform matchup for the Super Bowl, but
yeah, that's true.
And I got to be honest, the Eagles, the teams that scare me are the teams with really good offensive lines because it limits the effect that the Jets can have with rushing forward. Yeah. And the Eagles have a damn good offensive line. Although we're breaking down this hypothetical Super Bowl matchup, but the Eagles
Who gets to pick the uniforms in the Super Bowl.
It alternates between who's the home team and then whoever's the home team gets to pick. So if I'm not mistaken,
it was the Rams, right? Because the Bengals were rocking with the white uniforms and they got forced to wear the black jerseys. So it was the Rams, right?
Yeah.
I know it was their stadium.
So the Jets are the home team then. So the Jets are the home team is what you're saying?
Got to rock the white on black then.
Oh, we get to wear the white on black. All right, here we go. This is the Super Bowl right here. Why am I kind of nervous? All right, here we go. Jets Eagles Super Bowl.
Here we go.
Coin is up.
Didn't get the sound really that time.
Oh, my heart didn't take it. My heart won't be able to take this.
No.
It's a win.
Yes.
No, it was a loss. Yeah, it was a loss. I was going to sell it for the pod, but no, it was a loss. We lost. We definitely lost that one.
It was a good one.
I couldn't lie about the coin. I thought about it. I was like, should we just say they won? But no, they lost. It was tails. You're right. I didn't get a good flip on that one. Well,
all right.
They lost. You know what's funny is that if they lost in the Super Bowl, you know how depressed we'd all be, and it would just be like
that's something I realized about being good. It's like you think like when you're losing, you just kind of think, I just want to be competitive. I want to be in the playoff race, but you don't realize what comes with that because when you're like the 2021 Jets and you're 3-9, you don't care when your team loses. But when you're 6-3, or you're going to the playoffs, the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and every one of those losses hurts so much. There's a lot of pain that comes with the joy
with
of the wins.
with expectations. I mean, obviously, but put it in the perspective of the fact that they what do we say on this podcast as our goal for the season? We want to see them in the hunt graphic.
Wins? In the hunt.
No,
graphic.
We want to see them in the hunt graphic.
Yeah,
that's
now they're in
the
wild card graphic. They've never been in the hunt. It's been wild card since they started putting those out.
Yeah, so we've just been waiting for meaningful November and December games, and the Jets are doing that. So you kind of have to keep it in perspective.
Got to appreciate it,
because most likely 99% chance this season will end in heartbreak. Whether that's
according to Football Outsiders, it's 98%. They're giving the Jets a 2% chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Look, it actually could happen. For the first time in a while, the Jets actually do have a shot at it, like a legitimate shot. Like they with this defense, and depending on what they get from the quarterback, they can beat anybody. I take all those qualifications out. The Jets can beat anybody.
They have a better overall team than the Bengals, or similar to the Bengals last year.
Yeah, they have a better quarterback. They definitely have a better team than the Bengals. The difference is the quarterback. Yeah. Because their offensive line's better.
Defense is much better.
Defense is better. I mean, Jamar Chase is the weapons would probably go to the Bengals, but
I would say close. Coaching is better.
Probably, yeah. But hard to say until the Jets match what they did. But like, yeah, it is. You have to keep in perspective a little bit, because most likely it'll end in heartbreak, and as frustrating as that'll be, unless they pull it off, the fact that what they've done to this point already. I don't want to say it's not enough, but it's certainly supporting everything.
They're on track to easily go beyond what we expected.
Exactly, and supporting everything we've been saying on this podcast for 2 years now about like why you should be optimistic or why we should be buying in. The Jets are finally starting to back it up on the field. They got to close it out this season, and you'd like to see them win some playoff games and really make a run at it. And hell, if they made it to the Super Bowl, that would be amazing. It would haunt me forever if they lost it. Like, until they made it back, it would haunt me. But the good thing is no matter what happens this year, they are really set up for the next few years. They're opening up a window for the next few years here. So look at that, Michael. We got some future optimistic Jets talk, which is really the backbone of this podcast. It hasn't been until recently that we've had to talk about actual, reality. Damn, I really wish that coin was heads. Should I have sold it? Should I have just played it for the pod? I think
you gotta go with that. Yeah, honesty is key.
It was a bad flip and a bad catch too.
But we got some bad ones where they won. So
that's true. That is true. We did get a few lucky ones. All right. Well, we have one last question, Michael. Here's my question for you.
Okay.
Is Adam Gase the savior of the Jets franchise?
I think it can be argued.
Right? I mean, that is kind of the day things changed. When you think about it,
that's kind of really set everything in motion. I mean,
that is what's setting everything into motion.
To get to where they are right now, they had to go as low as you possibly could to set it all up. And the only reason that happened is because they hired Adam Gase. I think you hire anyone else that year, and the Jets they're not as bad as they were those 2 years, especially 2020. And if they were more competent, they'd be better in that short term, but would they get the assets that they needed to build the team they have now? I don't know if they would. So, and also, would they have the drama to force Jamal Adams out of town? Does a different head coach
think about
that happening?
Think about the butterfly effect of hiring Gase, right?
Right.
The obvious one is pushing McCagnon out, and I think Gase does deserve credit because he was the guy who advocated for Joe Douglas. It wasn't like Joe Douglas was just some random candidate. He was Adam Gase's guy. That doesn't mean that they worked together 1 year in Chicago and he knew this guy was good, but credit to Adam Gase because he thought that Joe Douglas would be a good GM, and maybe they would have hired him, or he would have it sounds like he probably would have gotten a GM job maybe the next offseason or the cycle after that, maybe. But I think Gase deserves some credit for recognizing McCagnon's difficulties and being crazy enough to say, I'm not going to work with this guy, even though we just did the entire offseason, fire him. Chris, like in New York, like how absurd that was. But, give it to him. He didn't want to tie himself to McCagnon. That firing sets in motion Joe Douglas, and then Joe Douglas obviously sets in motion everything else that's happened, including hiring Robert Saleh. And I don't know. I think Gase, as much hate as he deserves, does should get some credit if the Jets really turn this thing around and it's because of Joe Douglas. I think, maybe Gase gets a little shout out at the Super Bowl parade. Who are the current members of this team that were here during the Gase years? Quinnen, Thomas Hennessy. Who else? There's got to be somebody else. Is that it?
I mean,
is that really it? Is there nobody else?
There has to be.
John Myers, Braxton
Bryce
Berrios. There we go. Braxton Berrios, George Fant, Bryce Huff. I think that might be it. The only
Breenan Man.
He was there too. Oh yeah, the 2020 class. Yeah, that's true. So any Mims, Becton, Bryce Hall, all those guys.
Right.
The only relic from the Bowles era, though, I think is Hennessy, right?
Yes.
I love that Quinnen, like their best player is probably Quinnen, right? Got to see the whole. I mean, look, we're talking like the Jets have already won something. Just 6-3 at the bye. Just give it to us. He's gotten to see the transformation from the Gase years to at least having something resembling competent football.
Right.
That's been pretty cool. All right. Regardless, we've just spent the last 10 minutes talking about Super Bowl runs and flipping coins. And I think and Adam Gase, certainly season's not over. The Jets have not. I mean, the first take of that coin flip, which wasn't a real take because I dropped the coin under the cat. It was a whole thing. So we're not going to count that. But the season they could certainly lose a lot of games and miss the playoffs. And then we'll be looking back here and remembering how glorious the bye week was. But I also think there's a real chance the Jets make a run here. And so the season is far from over. They've really set themselves up for some big moments over these next 2 months. And I'm super excited, Michael. So we'll be back on Friday previewing that Pats game. But hey, season's not over. Job's not done. Jets have set themselves up well. But if they really want to accomplish something and do something and give us something to be completely obnoxious about on this podcast in the offseason, they got to go win some playoff games. So I think that's the goal. One game at a time. It all starts in New England. That's such a big one to be first place in the AFC East and exercising that demon and going into Gillette and beating Bill Belichick and for Zach Wilson. Like this game on Sunday is huge. I know the coin flip had us losing it and then going all the way to the Super Bowl, but there is a feeling that if they win this game against the Patriots, the Jets talk is going to get louder and louder and people are really going to buy in. And, they have that game against the Bears. Maybe, that's not a easy win by any means, but certainly maybe a step down in the level of opponent they've been playing the last few weeks. It feels like if they win this Pats game, the expectations are really there. If they lose it, I think people won't be able to trust the quarterback and they'll keep waiting for those same old Jets moments. But if they exercise this demon, Michael, I think the rhetoric around the Jets is going to be very different. So very excited about Sunday.
Yep.
Our podcast will be coming out on Friday. We'll dive deep, preview all the matchups. It should be a fun one. So that one will be coming out on Friday. We promise. But thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you for everybody who submitted questions. Really appreciate you guys. Apologies for being late on this week's pod. We'll be back on the usual swing of things now that the schedule's back underway. You can follow us at CYJ Pod on Twitter, Michael_Nania, myself, Ben W. Blessington. Go to jetsxtractor.com, best place to go for Jets content. Please rate, review, subscribe on iTunes if you can. Helps out the pod a ton. I think that's it, Michael. Subscribe to the Jets Extractor YouTube. I don't know. I think that's it. Michael, last thoughts?
I mean, I wouldn't say happy because I want all the help they can get, but I think it's kind of poetic that the Dolphins were able to still win that Browns game and that now the Jets are in this position to where they have to win in New England to get into first place in the division. And like you said, just exercise those Foxborough demons. So I think, it would have been nice to get both of those losses, but I think there's something to it that the Jets are going to have to win their way into that throne.
I agree. I would be a little bit worried if they if they would now be first place in the AFC going into New England. You know what I mean? Like if they, not that they would get complacent, but it would kind of be like they have to go earn first place in the AFC by beating the team that just beat them, and they have to go do it on their home field. It sets it up sets the stage for a huge matchup. And honestly, one that is deserving of prime time. This game deserves to be prime time over, what do they flex instead? Chargers, Chiefs.
Yeah.
More Mahomes games.
Right, just saw the Chargers this week.
Yeah. Whatever. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great week. We'll be back on Friday. Go Jets.